Salve, salve, salve! É final que vocês querem? Então toma! Sejam bem-vindas e bem-vindos à grande final do oitavo Your Voice, o concurso cultural de discursos da cultura inglesa. Criado em 2014, o Your Voice está quase finalizando agora a sua oitava edição, que aconteceu em formato totalmente digital, com uma premiação muito especial. Então vocês verão aqui na competição alunos da cultura inglesa dos estados de São Paulo, Santa Catarina, Bahia, Rio de Janeiro, Rio Grande do Sul, Distrito Federal, Goiás, Tocantins e Espírito Santo, de nível de inglês básico, intermediário e avançado. O objetivo da cultura inglesa com este evento é valorizar a importância da comunicação oral no mundo, preparar o aluno da cultura inglesa para expressar suas ideias com segurança em público, propiciar ao aluno da cultura inglesa um momento muito especial de pesquisa e troca cultural com seus pares e, por fim, apoiar e valorizar o aluno da cultura inglesa que deseja ser um agente transformador do mundo a partir do compartilhamento de suas ideias. E nessa edição nós recebemos mais de 1.500 inscrições. Na primeira fase do concurso, os candidatos enviaram seu discurso em vídeo. Os discursos foram avaliados por um time de jurados e 475 alunos e alunas passaram para as quartas de final. Nas quartas de final, eles se apresentaram aqui ao vivo e então 160 candidatos passaram para as semifinais. E nas semifinais, eles se apresentaram novamente aqui ao vivo, então 51 candidatos passaram para a grande final, que está acontecendo aqui hoje. E tudo isso feito por eles discursando em inglês, né? Acredito que a maioria de nós aqui não teria...
Ale, desculpa. A gente está tendo algum
Oi?
probleminha com a transmissão. Acho que a gente vai ter que retomar aqui, tá bom?
Eu não acredito.
Juro! Vamos segurar a ansiedade, gente, que eu acho
Mas
que
a gente vai para onde? Eu volto da onde?
O Rodrigo tá por aí? Calma aí, a gente vai recomeçar. Rô, vamos colocar intervalo aqui, a gente já volta. Espera aí, gente.
Olá, salve, salve, salve! Chegamos para essa grande final! Sejam bem-vindas e bem-vindos à grande final do Your Voice, do oitavo Your Voice, o concurso cultural de discursos da cultura inglesa. Criado em 2014, o Your Voice está quase finalizando agora a sua oitava edição, que aconteceu em formato totalmente digital, com uma premiação muito especial. E vocês verão aqui na competição alunos da cultura inglesa dos estados de São Paulo, Santa Catarina, Bahia, Rio de Janeiro, Rio Grande do Sul, Distrito Federal, Goiás, Tocantins e Espírito Santo, de nível de inglês básico, intermediário e avançado. O objetivo da cultura inglesa com este evento é valorizar a importância da comunicação oral no mundo, preparar o aluno da cultura inglesa para expressar suas ideias com segurança em público, propiciar ao aluno da cultura inglesa um momento muito especial de pesquisa e troca cultural com seus pares e, por fim, apoiar e valorizar o aluno da cultura inglesa que deseja ser um agente transformador do mundo a partir do compartilhamento de suas ideias. Bom, nessa edição, nós recebemos mais de 1.500 inscrições. E na primeira fase do concurso, os candidatos enviaram seu discurso em vídeo. Os discursos foram avaliados por um time de jurados e 475 alunas e alunos passaram para as quartas de final. Nas quartas de final, eles se apresentaram aqui, ao vivo, então 160 candidatos passaram para as semifinais. Nas semifinais, eles se apresentaram novamente aqui, ao vivo, e então 51 candidatos passaram para a grande final que está acontecendo aqui hoje. E tudo isso feito por eles discursando em inglês. Gente, acredito que a maioria de nós aqui, né, não teria coragem de fazer isso nem na nossa própria língua, né? Então, imagina fazer isso numa língua estrangeira. Tá? Não é pouca coisa, não. Então, todos aqui já são grandes vencedores, vencedoras, e com certeza já se superaram e evoluíram muito no processo de preparação para chegarem até aqui. Bom, ao término das semifinais, todos os candidatos finalistas tiveram a chance de conversar um pouquinho com nossos jurados e receber algumas dicas para melhorar aquele pouquinho a mais que ainda podia ser trabalhado na semifinal para cá. Ou seja, preparem seus corações, porque o nível hoje aqui vai estar altíssimo. Bom, a dinâmica aqui hoje será a mesma das quartas de final e das semifinais, né? Então, vou apenas repassar algumas informações e algumas das principais regras, ok? Bom, primeira coisa, vamos lá. Vocês que estão aí nos assistindo pela plataforma do Your Voice, interajam conosco, podem fazer sua torcida através do chat e podem também fazer posts na rede social aqui da plataforma. Ela fica no menu da sua lateral esquerda, tá bom? Bom, ao se inscreverem, os alunos foram divididos em 9 categorias diferentes, de acordo com o nível de inglês de cada um. Tá? Então, cada candidato concorre, portanto, somente com aqueles que estão inscritos na mesma categoria. Nessa sessão de agora, se apresentarão primeiro os candidatos da categoria 7, depois os candidatos da categoria 9 e, por último, os candidatos da categoria 6. As regras de duração e número de perguntas são as mesmas para essas duas categorias e eu vou repassar essas regras com vocês, tá bom? Bom, cada categoria possui uma duração de discurso diferente, né? A duração estipulada para os discursos da categoria 7 e 9 é de 3 minutos para cada candidato. Claro que é uma margem de tolerância, então os candidatos dessa categoria precisam apresentar um discurso que dure entre 2 minutos e meio e 3 minutos e meio. Temos aqui uma timekeeper, a Gabi, que controlará a duração de cada apresentação e fará soar um sinal como este. Ou este. Esse aí, muito melhor. Então, que ele serve para alertar o candidato sobre a duração do seu discurso. O sinal será tocado quando o candidato atingir 2 minutos e meio, depois novamente quando atingir 3 minutos, e será tocado uma última vez se o candidato atingir 3 minutos e meio. Já na categoria 6, a duração estipulada é de 2 minutos. Com a margem de tolerância, os discursos dessa categoria precisam durar entre 1 minuto e meio e 2 minutos e meio. E nessa categoria, nossa timekeeper, né, aciona a campanha, portanto, quando o candidato atingir 1 minuto e meio, depois quando atingir 2 minutos e uma última vez quando atingir 2 minutos e meio. Poderá ser penalizado o candidato que apresentar um discurso que finalize antes da primeira campainha ou após a terceira campainha. Depois do término da apresentação, os candidatos respondem a perguntas e cada categoria possui uma regra específica quanto a isso. No caso da categoria 7 e 9, os candidatos responderão a 2 perguntas, que podem ser feitas tanto pelos colegas da categoria 7 e 9, né, que estão aqui dentro do Zoom, quanto pelos nossos jurados. No caso da categoria 6, os candidatos responderão também a 2 perguntas, mas elas poderão ser feitas apenas pelos nossos jurados. Tá? E a duração máxima para a resposta de cada pergunta é de 1 minuto, e o candidato que não iniciar sua resposta em até 10 segundos perde a chance de responder. E claro que a plateia, novamente, participa conosco. Ao término de cada categoria, colocaremos um link no chat para que o público possa votar no seu candidato preferido. Tá? Esse link fica só 2 minutinhos no ar. Então, ó, já fica aí atento para não perder esse momento. Tá bom? E o candidato eleito pelo público em cada categoria ganhará um reader digital da NetGeo. E se a conexão de algum candidato falhar ou cair, não se preocupa, tá bom? Seguiremos com as apresentações, mas daremos uma nova oportunidade para o candidato retomar sua conexão e apresentar novamente. Vamos lá, deixa eu apresentar os nossos jurados, Carol, Emma, Gisele e Igor, que avaliarão os discursos apresentados e se reunirão após a apresentação de todos os candidatos para definir primeiro, segundo e terceiro lugar de cada categoria. E vamos relembrar, então, quais são os grandes prêmios dos quais os candidatos e candidatas estão concorrendo? Então, vamos lá. Ó, quem ficar em primeiro, segundo e terceiro lugar em cada categoria terá o seu discurso veiculado no podcast ou webinars da Cultura Inglesa. Ó, incrível, né? Além disso, temos mais 2 outros prêmios muito especiais. Vamos lá. Quem ficar em terceiro lugar ganha uma bolsa de 25% em qualquer curso da Cultura Inglesa e 25% de isenção na inscrição para um exame de Cambridge, tá? Ambos no próximo semestre, certo? Quem ficar no segundo lugar ganha 50% de bolsa em qualquer curso da Cultura Inglesa e 50% de isenção na inscrição para o exame de Cambridge. Gente, loucura isso. E quem ficar em primeiro lugar, é isso que vocês estão imaginando mesmo, quem ficar em primeiro lugar em cada categoria ganha 100% de bolsa no curso da Cultura Inglesa e isenção total no exame de Cambridge. Uau! Né? Então, quero até registrar esse grande momento de grande expectativa aqui dentro do Zoom, pedindo aos candidatos que façam aquela pose para a nossa foto, para registrarmos aqui essa tela repleta de sorrisos, emoções e ideias a serem compartilhadas com a gente. Vamos lá? Ih, acho que foi. Foi, né? Acho que foi. Então, muito obrigado, pessoal. Ó, vou convidar agora a Fernanda para fazer aquele rápido sorteio que define a ordem de apresentação dos candidatos das 3 categorias.
Obrigada, Alexandre. Oi, gente, vou compartilhar minha tela, tá bom? A gente vai fazer o sorteio aqui ao vivo. Então, aqui a gente tem os nomes das candidatas e candidatos da categoria 7 em ordem alfabética, tá? E a gente vai embaralhar para ver a ordem de apresentação. E a ordem de apresentação fica assim: o Ricardo, a Beatriz Bernardino, a Vivian, a Daniela, a Beatriz dos Santos Figueiredo e o Matheus, tá bom? Da categoria 7. Da categoria 9, a gente vai fazer a mesma coisa aqui com os 3 nomes dos candidatos e candidata da categoria 9. Vamos embaralhar. E a ordem fica sendo Luísa, Renan e Frederico. E, por fim, a categoria 6, temos aqui os nomes em ordem alfabética e vamos embaralhar. E a ordem de apresentação da categoria 6 fica sendo Sofia Pereira de Andrade, Isadora, Gabriela, Sofia Dedini Ragusa, Maria Eduarda e Lívia. É isso, Alexandre, muito obrigada. E ótima apresentação para todo mundo.
Aê, obrigado, Fê. Vamos lá, pessoal. Vamos começar? Ó, a gente está aqui dentro do Zoom, a gente vai deixar nossas câmeras abertas, mas microfone fechado, tá bom? Só fica com o microfone aberto quem for o speaker da vez. Tá bom? Aquela última respirada. Vamos lá, categoria 7. Primeira pessoa a se apresentar é Ricardo Almeida.
Bueno, I can go when
Quando você quiser.
Okay. We expect too much from our heroes. The term hero comes from the ancient Greeks. For them, a hero was a mortal who had done something so far beyond the normal scope of human experience. So then, left an immortal memory behind when died, and thus received worship like to the gods. As historians and activists have noted for generations, heroes are often made mythics in the ways that are troubling. Social change is never wrought by individuals, and to reap socially is a collective endeavor. And the romantic idea of the hero obscured that truth. Recent civil rights movements, like the movement called Black Lives Matter, have been deliberate about describing themselves as leaderless or leaderful, in order to emphasize the importance of the collective, while rejecting the model of the charismatic male leader. The decision to choose to be leaderless or leaderful models is a refutation of the idea of the traditional hero, martial, dominant, and authoritarian style. It also recognizes the ways in which so many important figures have been excluded from being cast as heroes, because they don't fit in the standard image, whether because of queerness, gender nonconformity, femininity, or mental or physical disability. The practice of overlooking these heroic people is ironic, given that navigating this vantage often require heroic labors. That said, heroes remain. They resonate with people for a good reason. Human beings organize knowledge through storytelling. We are raised in the light of those stories we heard and tell. Having stories that give us courage, inspirations are always necessary, but especially when we face injustice. In trying times, and we are mightily tried, we need inspiration. Rather than absolute rejection of the idea of the hero, we would do better to tell fuller and truer stories about whom we place in those ranks, to deepen our understanding of them as fallible human beings. And we must include critically important people who are often left off the rolls. However, even as explained depending on who counts as heroes, the heroic figure remains a juggernaut. As we freeze them on an altar of adoration, we run the risk of losing our critical perspective regarding who they were, complex human beings. In a world of social media and information age with 24 hours news cycles, heroes rise and fall in a spectacular fashion on a daily basis. So in a nutshell, we do not have to expect anything from our heroes. They are just humans as everyone, and just provide us example to how proceed in life, so we can take the leash of life and be the heroes of our own story. Thank you very much.
Muito obrigado, Ricardo. Vamos para as perguntas agora. Quem vai fazer a primeira pergunta é a Beatriz Figueiredo.
Hi, thank you for your speech. You mentioned Greek mythology and the concept of heroes that they had. So my question is, what would categorize a hero to you?
I think I just brought the definition of the Greeks because they invented the term itself. But for me nowadays, a hero would be as exampled by a woman who have 2 children and 2 jobs and share a little apartment, very little apartment with her family, and had to provide for all of them. This for me is a hero nowadays.
Thank you very much.
Obrigado, Ricardo, Beatriz. Vamos para a pergunta agora da Vivian Nascimento.
Hello, Ricardo. Morning.
Good morning.
During your speech, you've said that you shouldn't expect nothing from our heroes. Once heroes are people we usually expect something of, isn't it contradictory? You've mentioned a woman that has 2 jobs and so on. Wouldn't you expect something from a woman like that? Why not expect something for someone? Why not expect something from a hero?
I think we don't have to expect anything because we don't have to create some expectations from the other person, you know. If you have this mother who is a hero for me because she put herself in the job, he just accept and embrace it, put all the responsibility to her. But you know, when you have children, and in this case you don't do yourself, so you have others responsibilities. I believe we don't have to look to the heroes and make them make them a profound example of what I need to do or what I need to trail, what my path will be the same as my hero. I don't believe that. I believe they just give us ideas and inspiration to how proceed. To look at the life, and I want that for my life, but what path I'm gonna take is up to me. So is that what I believe? Heroes are not something you need to mirror yourself. You need just to look and take the best of it. Thank you very much.
Obrigado, Ricardo. Obrigado, Vivian. Vamos então agora para a nossa próxima candidata, que é a Beatriz Bernardino.
It's not me, not me.
Ricardo, fecha seu microfone, por favor. E a Beatriz... Cadê a Beatriz? Beatriz... Ué?
I'm here.
Ah, desculpa. Então, quando você quiser.
Okay. To further elaborate on the topic, I would like to start by defining hero. According to the Cambridge English Dictionary, the word hero has 3 definitions. 1, someone who is admired for having done something very great or having achieved something very brave. 2, the main character or the main male character in a book or movie who is usually good. And 3, someone who you admire very much. For now, let's leave the 3rd definition aside. Having in mind that we're not in a book or movie, considering someone the second type of hero and expecting the things that would happen in that situation can be disappointing and lead to lack of fulfillment of expectations. Nonetheless, it can still happen. The hero I will be talking about has ironically referred to herself as having superpowers. That's because Greta Thunberg, a Swedish social environmental activist, has Asperger's syndrome, which is a state in the autism spectrum. And she has referred to it numerous times as a superpower rather than something negative. According to Greta, Asperger's has conferred her concentration capacity out of the usual, which lets her read and study about her interests, as well as keeps her thinking about the issue, taking away the possibility of her ever ignoring it, like most neurotypicals can. Greta has taken many actions to reduce the carbon footprint of her family and started a strike on which, on Fridays, she would skip school and sit in front of the Swedish parliament to protest for the fulfillment of the Paris Accords. And every Friday, more and more people would show up to accompany her. Now, at 19, Greta has many accomplishments attributed to her name, such as Person of the Year 2019 by Time Magazine, The Greta Effect, and being nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for 3 consecutive years, 2019, 2020, and 2021. From what I've said, Greta sure sounds like a book hero, but we have to remember that she's a person, just like you and me, who couldn't have done this alone. That's because Greta needed the help and support of her family, her friends, and even other people to accomplish all the things she has. To expect things from our heroes, we have to give them the space and encouragement to keep going, however we can. That can mean sharing their posts and stories on social media, reading their books if they've written any. In Greta's case, she has written many, many books, but my favorite and the one most people have read is Our House is on Fire. And just doing research on the topic they talk about. Because no matter how much they want to, one person can't change the world, but as seen, they can inspire the change.
Muito obrigado, Beatriz, pelo seu discurso. Vamos para a pergunta da Carol.
Hello, Bia. Thank you for your speech. So you've talked about Greta, and she's pretty young. She's been an activist since she was even younger. And I would like to know how important it is for you, a young woman, to have a young person with such a role that Greta has taken.
To me, it is very important, the role that Greta has and the role that society lets her have, which she fought for. Because I found out about Greta a year or 2 ago when I read her book, and I was even younger then. And I think that she has just become a role model, and she teaches me that I can do whatever I want, and that if I see something wrong, I have to point it out. And I have to be the person to say, hey, this is going to kill us if we don't do something about it.
Thank you very much, Bia.
Obrigado, Carol. Obrigado, Bia. Vamos para a pergunta da Emma.
Hello, Beatriz. Thank you for your speech. Beatriz, you mentioned that Greta has a lot of support from her family and friends, and that's part of why she's so great. Why do you think that is so important?
I don't know. I think that maybe because when you have people fighting with you, it feels like you have less to fight. That means if I have friends or family supporting me, I am not fighting my friends or family. I am just fighting the issue. And that takes up less fighting than it would if I was against the whole world. And that can also like base the fact that I am fighting for and even encourage me to keep going because somebody sees the same problem that I do.
Thank you very much.
Muito obrigado, Beatriz, Carol, Emma. E vamos para nossa próxima candidata, que é a Vivian.
Good morning, everyone. I'm representing Cultura Inglesa from Itumbiara, Goiás. Let's go once more. We expect too much from our heroes. I would say yes, but think about that sentence and as an affirmation, and why not turn it into one or more questions? Do we expect too much from our heroes? What do we exactly expect from our heroes, and who are our heroes? Let's try to reach the answer for these questions. Searching about heroes and how much we expect from them, I came across an article about a book called Heroes, What They Do and Why We Need Them, where the authors Scott T. Ellison and Jordan Goethals discuss how the high standards we hold for heroes make it easier to topple them from their pedestals. Do we expect too much from our heroes? We sure do, but how and at what level do these expectations make them commit mistakes or lose the track of being good for the ones who are inspired by them? Occasionally, more than an aspiration, we hold on our heroes the fulfillment power of our own dreams. What do we expect from our heroes? To start with, what are the main traits of a hero? In the book I found, the authors highlight the great traits of heroes, which are smartness, strength, altruism, careness, charisma, resilience, reliability, and inspiration. They also outline the mental models that we have of how people become heroes, from the underdog who defies great odds, like David and Goliath, to the heroes who redeem themselves or overcome adversities. Are heroes perfect? It is possible that what we expect from them aren't their best traits or may even be their threats or weaknesses. And it is at this point where they perhaps disappoint us. Who are our heroes? Who are your heroes? Mothers, fathers, teachers, friends? As a mother, do I represent a hero for my daughter? Maybe her father does. To our kids, we are perfect. Are we really? I can ask you. But despite of who your hero is, what they represent for you, or the influence they have upon you, they are above all humans. And as humans they are, as humans we are. We've got to be inspiration to each and every person we come across and touch them with everything we are, supported by our life experience and our background. To wrap this up, if we expect too much from our heroes or from ourselves, start being the hero you once have expected someone to be in your whole childhood, and you will figure it all out. Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Vivian, pelo seu discurso. Vamos para a pergunta da Beatriz.
Hi, Vivian. Thank you for your speech. It was really well constructed. I have a question. You mentioned those pillars that you founded in a book that categorize a hero, but you also mentioned that parents can be heroes and normal people can be heroes. Do you think that a hero has to have all of those pillars and all of those virtues to be considered a hero?
Thank you for your question. They just mentioned the most mentioned. I'm being repetitive, but the most mentioned characteristics of heroes. It's for sure that, like me or another normal people, we don't have all of these 8 characteristics, but we try to be all of them and each one of them in each situation we face, like I face with my daughter, or in another situation, difficult situation we face, and I can forge these traits, like if I'm not strength enough, I can forge this facing a situation and like become more and more like a hero, but being human.
Thank you for your answer.
Muito obrigado. Vamos para a pergunta agora do Ricardo. Ricardo, você está no mudo.
Let's go. Now I'm ready. I'm sorry. Thank you for your speech, Vivian. It was amazing. And at your finish, you pointed out we need to start to make our path in this area. So how could we look to our heroes and start the heroic path for ourselves?
I'm gonna mention, like in the 2 previous time I have spoken. My mom is an example for me, and what I look in, what I can see in her life as an example, I can take to me and act like her. For example, we can get the inspiration we have in each one of the people, in each person we look to, and get this characteristic and how these people face the situations and like copy that to be successful as them. That's what I do really in my life.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Obrigado, Vivian, Beatriz, Ricardo. E vamos continuar aqui agora. É a Daniela Fiori.
Just a second. Okay, so is there anybody in this world that you consider the definition of perfection? Throughout life, we meet a lot of people who seem picture perfect, but 9 out of 10 times, they're just as average as you and me. My name is Daniela Fiori, and I'm here to talk about why heroes just don't exist. Heroes are everywhere. TV personalities, social media influencers, even a friend or a relative. It's a fact that humans tend to project their expectations on others, especially when they seem to be everything we ever dreamed of. It feels safe to know that somewhere in this world, there's always someone who's going to work stuff out without even hesitating before a huge problem. It's unavoidable, because it's what we learn from books and movies and all kinds of entertainment. The nice guy always bounces back. And if things don't end up in a happily ever after, then it's just not worth it being displayed. These superstay plots work just the same. The good people do only good things, but they keep being affected by the mean people's bad attitude. In real life, though, good people can make mistakes too. We call this Manichaeism, the necessity people have to set what's 100% wrong and what's 100% right. So rooted in our society that it became almost impossible to distinguish how far it plays a role in the way we see things. In everything we do, we're always trying to stick to the right side, even though this is a pretty subjective concept. Well, we do mess up things quite often. We gain insights, we change opinions, which really shouldn't be a concern, but every single little misstep turns out to be a major stress, or even a moral dilemma sometimes. Then we cover up envy and anger, instead of breaking them down, comprehending them, learning how to deal with them before they swallow us. As a perfectionist myself, I know how hard it is to make up how you feel, and it hurts every time I compare my work with others. Frustration and low self-esteem are only a few of the many issues that show up as consequences of believing that our only objective should be reaching flawless perfection. This is clearly evidenced by the sharply increasing rates of depression, anxiety, and eating disorders among teenagers. Their aim to become somehow extraordinary, to discover who they are and what's their mark on the world, most of the times turns into an unsustainable fetch for unrealistic expectations, which is just too unhealthy for words. In this framework, one question takes of great importance. Why can't we find a balance? Let's allow ourselves to experiment, fail, feel our feelings without labeling them as good or bad. Life is not an all or nothing game anyways. I hope my speech left you with a reflection. How about rethinking on your definition of a hero?
Muito obrigado, Daniela. Vamos para a primeira pergunta, que é da Gisele.
Hello, Daniela. Thank you for your speech. You talked about perfection and the pressure that sometimes we face to be perfect. How do you think our flaws, or better, in other words, do you think our flaws can help us to become a better person? And if you think so, why?
Hi, thank you so much for the question. Well, I believe that, yes, our flaws are a way to improve the things we don't really like about ourselves. And personally, I believe the best way for you to learn something is experiencing it. So sometimes people say things to us, they give us advice, and it's good to take advice from others, but nothing else compares to feeling it in our own skin. And then we learn what's practical, what we can really do to become better people every day, and having in mind that becoming a better person does not mean becoming a perfect person.
Okay, thank you so much.
Ok, agora vamos para a segunda pergunta, que vai ser feita pelo Igor.
Hi, Daniela. Good morning. Thank you for your speech, first of all. I was thinking, you were just talking about experience, right? Many people say that practice makes perfect. I was wondering how you feel about that saying, and if you feel it would be helpful to inspire people to become better, even if not to become perfect. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I think it's a very interesting saying. I do believe practice, making mistakes, and learning and improving helps us to become better people. And the only thing I don't like about it is the term perfect, because practice does not make perfect, because in different contexts, like when you're nervous and you don't do well on a test, you could have studied a lot and you're nervous, so it doesn't work out. But actually, I do think practice helps a lot.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Obrigado. Muito obrigado, Daniela, Igor, Gi. Vamos para agora a próxima candidata, Beatriz Figueiredo.
Hi, so we expect too much of our heroes. When we think about the term hero, the concept that usually comes to mind would be superheroes, just as Mad Men, Iron Man, Wonder Woman, and plenty others. People with superpowers who use them for a greater good, having a perfect, or almost perfect, moral code. But analyzing through history, heroes weren't as morally perfect as we know them today. The third form of heroes we've met were gods and demigods in ancient Greece, and a few centuries later, Rome. But those heroes weren't as morally perfect as the one we know today, proving the point that even divine figures may be imperfect. How could we expect perfection from an imperfect world ruled by the extremely imperfect human race? The two main heroic characters from Greek mythology were Heracles and Achilles, the main character of the Iliad by Homer. Both of those heroes were morally corrupt and with mostly selfish motivations. and that's exactly why they became popular. Heracles had to make selfless works to erase the sin of killing his family, the famous 12 verse of Hercules. Achilles, by another point of view, was one of the greatest characters ever written by Homer. He was the definition of a good soldier, a truly killing machine. But even though he was extremely useful for the Greeks during the Trojan War, he had a fatal flaw. Most people know this flaw as physical, his heel, because this is how the Latin writer Stasius wrote in the Achilleia 2 years after Christ, being categorized as a retelling. But following the Greek ancient texts, Achilles' fatal flaw was not physical. It was his pride, being that pride the thing that got him killed. Because of a fight with his supervisor, Agamemnon, he refused to fight against the Trojans with absolutely no compassion or mercy with the man he fought with for years. His best friend and lover, Patroclus, felt really bad for his dying friends and dressed Achilles' armature and went to the battle. Only when Patroclus died, Achilles came back to fight. Not in order to help, but for revenge. The point we can take from both stories is the ancients did not expect it for their heroes to be perfect. So why do we? Every heroic figure in our eyes is the closest to perfection as possible. Humanity is constantly reaching for perfect models, even when we know that's impossible. Since we are born with our parents, we see them as people who can't disappoint. But humans make mistakes, and when those mistakes come from people we admire, it usually tends to be more significant. I believe that the only way of deconstructing those impossibly heavy standards is exercising general acceptance, similar to Nietzsche's love body concept, to embrace our flaws, mortality, and finitude of life. By accepting our mistakes, we tend to accept other people's mistakes too. Because heroes fight their own battles as well, have their own flaws, and make their own mistakes. Acceptance is the key to settle realistic expectations and not to expect too much of our heroes. Thank you for listening.
Muito obrigado, Beatriz. A primeira pergunta vai ser feita pela Carol.
Hello, Bia. Thank you for your speech. While listening to you, I could notice how passionate you are about Greek mythology. And you mentioned two heroes, Hercules and Achilles. And I was curious if you could talk about another one, maybe. Awesome. So this is my question. Could you talk a little bit about another Greek hero?
Yes, thank you so much for the question. I could talk about Odysseus, that is the main character of the Odyssey by Homer. But I prefer talking about another character in this book, Circe, the witch. She's one of my favorite characters because she is a female, and she's a female that is so incredibly strong. We don't see a lot of her in the Odyssey, but there are a lot of books that show a lot about her story. She was incredible. She was a witch, she was a woman, and she was strong. She was exiled in an island, and she worked her entire life to get out of it. She was exiled because of her female rage. And every time someone asks me for an indication of a book about female rage, I always recommend Circe by Madeline Miller. That is a modern retelling of the story and a combination of every single classic myth.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to read that. Thank you.
Vamos agora para a segunda pergunta, que vai ser feita pela Vivian.
Hello, girl. How are you doing? Good speech, very good. You're so cute at all. And you've mentioned in the end of your speech, disconstruction. And I want to ask you for you to tell us the situation that you've disconstructed yourself based on everything you know, like a hero or a character at all.
Thank you for your question, Vivian. Well, there were plenty of moments that I felt like I was disconstructing my standards for myself because I consider myself as a perfectionist, and I try every day to deconstruct this irrevocably strong standards for myself, because perfection is not something achievable, just as I said in my speech. We are only humans, and it's really, really hard when you expect perfection from yourself. I try not to expect perfection from other people, but I always expect too much of myself in everything that I do, and I get disappointed if I don't achieve it, which is never, because we can never achieve perfection as humans. So I think that deconstructing is a really, really long way. And I try to work on it through a lot of ways, like meditation and therapy and a lot of things. So it's hard, but it's achievable. And I think that we all can do it. Thank you.
I completely got you. I'm like you. Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Bia, Carol, Vivian. E vamos para o nosso último candidato da categoria 7, definido por sorteio, que é o Matheus dos Reis.
Okay, just stand up here. Running like the clappers, passing knowledge down from generation to generation, giving your voice so as to combat global issues. If I were in your shoes, I would contemplate taking these traits I've just highlighted into account, seeing as all that are related to heroes, like teachers, firefighters, frontline healthcare workers, and so forth. What is more, there is no denying that we've been surrounded by these influential figures ever since we were born, and they tend to come out all over the place, right, left, in the center, through bestsellers, blockbusters, advertised hoardings, among other things. For that matter, I wonder if this is the reason why we worship the ground our role models walk on. And just for the record, guys, what is a hero for you? Is it someone capable of climbing the walls? Is that a doctor who would make the ultimate sacrifice for someone else in the face of danger? How come we put them on a pedestal? With a view to answering these questions, let's take a trip down memory lane, huh? Firstly, when I was a kid, I used to love pretending to be the Spider-Man in the light of his powers and capacities. However, at that moment, I couldn't distinguish reality from fictionality to the fullest. Because when you surround yourself with your favorite idols at the age of 5 or 6, give or take, chances are that we will pin all your faith, hope is on them, as if they were braver than you, stronger than you, and first and foremost, a figure to be idolized, worshipped, venerated, and revered in somehow. Secondly, I'd like to place emphasis on a quote by Greta Thunberg, which is, "You are never too small to make a difference." What does it imply exactly? To my mind, each of us is capable of shaping the world for the better, being the heroes we've always looked forward to, as long as we stick to our guns, stand our grounds, and above all, believe in ourselves, in spite of others' criticism, contradictions, preconceptions, and something of that kind. You see, where there is a will, there is a way. So to sum up, the justification for hero worshiping our idols is simply due to the fact that they do represent the product of our dreams, aspirations, cravings in life. Because of that, we've got to rock, shake the foundations of a hero's notion, concept. That is to say, put a different complexion in it by showing that no one is perfect, guys. And everyone here is supposed to fall to pieces, make blunders, live and learn new things, hit the skids, face the music, be on the rocks, and this and that. There is no point in looking up too much to others when in fact you can write your own story because you are possible. You can do it. It's just a matter of belief and principle. After all, heroes aren't made by the powers they were graced with. They are made by the experiences and paths they go through and choose as well. Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Matheus. Vamos para a primeira pergunta, vai ser feita pela candidata Daniela.
Hello, Matheus. Good morning.
Hi.
You mentioned in your speech how we set up idols when we were children. My question is, when did you notice that this pursuit for heroes and people on pedestals, when did you notice this was unhealthy, and when did you start to change this?
Well, thanks for your question. And the way I started realizing, was as the time passed by. I think the older you get, the more likely your definition of hero, what is a hero like, tends to change. So at the age of, 15, 16, I realized that no one is perfect, just like I mentioned it. And the more you expect from someone, the more it tends to be a higher expectation. So everyone, is supposed to make mistakes. We have to find a balance, how to bridge the gap between a hero, a fictional hero, and maybe a frontline health worker, you see?
Thank you.
E agora a pergunta do Ricardo.
Once more, thank you for your speech, Mateus. It was amazing. And at the finish of your speech, you do some call to action about empowering yourself, right? And how can people can look up inside inside themselves and try to bring it up, these mistakes, these flaws, and these good qualities, and know more about themselves and be more empowering of them?
Well, thanks for your question. And I consider the communication, communicative skills to be one of the keys to finding these kind of mistakes and possible things you can change and develop, you see. And I'd also like to emphasize, how when we have someone you can rely on and express your true feelings and emotions, you tend to, know not only more about the person next to you, but also you can reflect about yourself based on feedbacks and stuff like that. So communication seems to me, the major point of all of these things. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Muito obrigado, Matheus, Daniela, Ricardo. Uau! Gente, falei que o nível era alto, falei que essa final ia ser bem, bem disputada, né? Então, vamos fazer o seguinte, eu adorei ouvir vocês, e eu tenho certeza que a nossa plateia também. Então, eu falei que tinha um prêmio do público, né? Que é o Audience Choice. Então, estamos colocando aí o link de votação já no chat, e são só 2 minutinhos para vocês votarem, tá? O link não é clicável, mas vocês podem copiar e colar no seu navegador ou ir direto no navegador e digitar o link. E se você estiver assistindo pelo celular, tá? Talvez seja melhor não sair da transmissão. Então, anota o link em algum lugar, abra uma aba nova no seu navegador e digita o link, que é esse aqui, ó. Tiny, né? tiny.cc/final7. A candidata ou o candidato que ganhar o prêmio de voto popular receberá um reader digital na Geo, um livro digital interessantíssimo em inglês relacionado ao nível de inglês dessa categoria. Muito legal, né? Então, aproveito para lembrar que esse prêmio não tem relação, tá, com os prêmios de primeiro, segundo e terceiro lugar que eu mencionei antes, tá bom? Claro, são 2 coisas diferentes. Tem o voto do público e tem o voto dos jurados. Mas, claro, se a pessoa que ganhar o prêmio do público também estiver entre os 3 nomes anunciados pelos jurados, aí sim ela também receberá alguns dos outros prêmios. Então, gente, bora voltar aqui, ó, tá acabando já, nós vamos só 2 minutinhos, certo? E enquanto o pessoal vai terminando de votar, a gente vai dar início às apresentações da categoria 9, tá? E essa categoria é um pouquinho diferente das outras, pois aqui os candidatos apresentam seu discurso no formato de poesia falada. Então, lembrando que nessa categoria, assim como foi no anterior, os outros candidatos das categorias 7 e 9, né, que estão aprendendo o Zoom, podem fazer perguntas a quem se apresentar. Certo? Vamos lá? Deixa eu só olhar aqui a minha listinha para ver a ordem. E a primeira pessoa para se apresentar na categoria 9 é a Luísa Nogueira.
Why do we expect for our heroes to be perfect at all times, believing that they could carry the weight of the world and not crumble apart or shatter from the inside? Not heroes like Spider-Man or Hulk, but those who save us without powers or a radioactive look. Our heroes that save our families and fight in war. Those who their safe haven are foxholes, the 1 hour of rest in the ER, the drops of rain after a massive drought. Those whom could we ever live without? Why do we hate the villain without knowing their motives? Because most of them aren't bad, just broken, outcasts, exiled by our motives. Why do we wait for them to be great and carry the weight of a full yard, a dead harvest, the tanks in war, and even when afraid, keep teaching our future days? We should raise a helping hand to the soldiers of our land, the teachers who spend years educating our future, but fear being shot and yet they teach so little they can barely afford their place in a loft. To the nurses and doctors that stitch back our hearts, even when their life is falling apart, they raise a helping hand to lift us out of the darkness that we fell into without a plan. If people could feel the weight of the expectations, they wouldn't pressure them this much. We should expect less from the heroes we love. They are humans just like us and have their own lives, so let's stop thinking that they can also self-destruct. Why are we expected to be greater than all, but feel like the villain when a small crumble falls, expecting us to be the missing piece that has to fit perfectly, correcting the human flaws? Where has humanity gone? What we have done? Our lives just crumble upon a world where everyone wants to change but won't fight for what is great, as will decay, waiting for them to fix our moldy graves. Because the hero is only a hero if the story is told by someone who's by their side of the lane. Could the villain have a good point in this political game? Because modern day heroes are only on TV, and we forget about those who are in our reality. They shouldn't be forgotten, should be made a part of our history. But the true hero who will lift you up is your own hands and body that held you steady to prove that you're the only one worthy when life's most difficult things come to prove, and when life feels like everything has been going down the drain, and there's only yourself to blame. You may be the villain in your story, the worst and most lame in your point of view, but you were the hero in someone else's game. Why don't we change society to appreciate ourselves and each other in this never-ending card game where our future is unpredictable and there's only the unknown to blame? Because we are expected to be perfect in a notion of flaws and can never be corrupted by the smallest straw. Why won't people stop looking for walking reflections, stop trying to fight people who are forced to be perfection? If they stop looking for signs, stop looking for people with flawless designs. What if we changed out our views? Would we not be so confused? Would we be less affected by others' views? Why do we keep raising our bets in this game? As if life could be that simple and we could choose not to have to run. And this forever ongoing race to see who's the number one. We live on the tip of a two-sided spade of, should I reach for full help? Or when gold on the game to see who's the most great. Thank you so much.
Muito obrigado, Luísa. Então vamos para as perguntas. A primeira pergunta vai ser da Emma.
Hello, Luisa. Thank you so much for your speech. Luisa, you mentioned how some heroes are somehow outcasts. Would you say that all heroes are or were once outcasts, and why?
Some people end up by transforming themselves because life has taught them to live in various ways. They have seen both sides on where they were lonely and let out of society by being different or having different qualities than what is considered normal. So some of them try to forge themselves to change. Some accept themselves and go out and express what to them a hero would be, and they end up becoming a spotlight that can be a light in the end of the dark tunnel for someone to inspire themselves on. Thank you.
Thank you.
E a segunda pergunta vai ser feita pela Gisele.
Hello, Luisa. Thank you for your speech. During your speech, you mentioned we can be a hero or a villain, depending on the point of view. Can you share with us an experience where whenever a hero or a villain helped you?
I am so sorry. My internet is horrible. I couldn't hear the first half of the question. Could you please repeat?
Don't worry, sure, of course.
Thank you so much.
During your speech, you mentioned that we can be sometimes a hero or a villain, and it depends on the point of view. So my question is, can you share with us an experience where a hero or a villain, or even a villain, had helped you or inspired you?
Thank you so much for the question. My mother helps me a lot. She is a personal hero to me. And once I had this really big problem in school in which they spread a really bad rumor about me. And this friend I didn't like, she had been mean to me for a really long while. She helped me stop the rumor alongside with my mom, which made me modify my view on her character. Today we are best friends, and that's why I think that to be the hero or the villain, it really depends on which side you're from or how you can see someone. A story always has two sides, and you need to see both before defining who's the villain or who's the hero. Because if the story is only told by the hero's accomplices, you wouldn't know what were the villain's motives. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Obrigado, Luísa, Emma, Gi. Vamos para o nosso próximo candidato definido por sorteio, que é o Renan. Renan, você está aí?
Estou aqui.
Então,
Tá me
quando
ouvindo?
você
Dá para
quiser.
ouvir direito?
Sim?
Above all the evil forces that threatens mankind, a reasoned role model seem to teach unwise, flawless people, unlike anyone you fight. Make no mistake about dreams in disguise, imaginary creations made up our minds. Better aware than blindfolded, I advise. For tragedy may be the price paid by anyone who depends on fate's aid. Ancient Greek epos meant both poem and word, countless stories of outstanding challenge overcome, heard, inspiring hundreds of generations over heroes deeply steered, peoples whose wills could not be deterred. As many times we've got critics debating about the death of art, a movement in a moment not so far ago did the same with poetry and took its spot, recovering passion that fills eyes with tears through ideas that comes from the heart. At the debut of screen-dependent communication era, slam poetry has given poems a fresh new start. In spite of that, through all the web, in a media-driven society, with access to information of infinite variety, with algorithms that mass reproduce totals of notoriety, no recognized space for acceptance of new voices. It seems like the way one thinks or behaves is out of choices. Either pre-made formula or the epithet of impiety. As poem reading circles have been previously progressively razor-cut from its emotional death roots, fallen in a rut, so did our consciousness of dynamism and leadership and our ability to outstrip mythical creatures those leaders became, disguised under unachievable concepts of heroism. Who to blame? One slight detail, but of utmost importance for this speech poetry to prevail. They were not gods, they were mortals like you and me. So change the odds, we'll open portals, we will not flee. In real life, who's at your side? Who supports you when in desperation you plead? The world is dangerous and it is wild, rest careless, and soon sorrow you will be. Although miracles might eventually happen, a call heard from heaven, chances are you'll be skinned alive by life in a quantum and absolute vortex towards strife, heart in tatters. What really matters is that you stand up, not on your knees, is that you act up with expertise. Expect not to be taken in consideration by politicians who sell the lives of those you love, or even yours for a small amount of pennies. Expect not to be spared by corporations whose multi-billionaire profits will delete you without a glimpse of hesitation. Expect not to be respected by those who live in fear or ignorance or hate. Keep your guard up after resisting so much time under the rule of brutal forces, not to end up transformed in an equally monstrous creature or reproduce a mirror image. If you need, take a moment, retain an hour defense in order not to lose your senses and join the weaker. Those who in that succeed, there is the seed to lead into a better world. Epic is the path of ordinary folks who, despite all human atrocities and life's bad jokes, merge, taking measures with an unbeatable belief that invokes a potential horizon. No matter how unbalanced their circumstances may be, they set in their mind and then in the world what they really see beyond the boundaries. Freedom, slamming poetry, is the comprehension that a powerful vision resonates in all dimensions, but not unless channeled through us, materialized through our voiced intentions. Our heroes guide us with examples, expansions of tangible realities. Who decides to walk across the fire and how? Who has the strength to do so? Now are us.
Muito obrigado, Renan. Um segundinho para você respirar. E vamos para a pergunta da Carol.
Hello, Renan.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Breathe. Well, at the beginning of your poetry, you mentioned that slam poetry has given poems a brand new start. Yes, has given poetry a brand new start. So I'd like to know, what does slam poetry mean to you? How is it important in your life?
Well, to me, in my life, is extremely important because I have been reading poems during all of my life, but it was something that I would usually keep to myself, you know, something that you write and that you don't show to others. By the passing of the time, I have started showing people sometimes some things I would write, and that was about what's really inside of me. At some point, I don't know how, living out after so many years, I find out with almost 40 years what slam poetry was this year. And it was about actually speaking out what the words that were really, that was originally inside me. So it's about actually revealing something that has been with me through my whole life, through my eyes, through the way I see life. And it's actually sharing that with people and connecting to that through this artistic and intellectual and humane tool of connecting to people, of being with them. So it's sort of in a way to connect my inner soul with everybody.
Thank you so much.
Agora a pergunta da Emma.
Hello, Hannah. Thank you very much. Hannah, do you have someone you would consider a poetry slam hero for you?
Well, as I say in my poem, there are no heroes. We are the heroes. We ourselves are the heroes. And considering that, considering the people who took the best decisions, even when it was not about them, when it was about doing what's right, I would without doubt take my father, who has embraced me and loved me and supported me, even when no one else would, who even in his old age cheers for me and do all he can and pray and is with me, and even in his silent way to talk many times, he finds its way to show me that he believes in me. It is important to have someone who deeply believes in you, because sometimes even you, with things that happen in life, stop believing in yourself. So someone who holds your hand and walks with you up to the end, that's someone to consider a hero, and I consider him a hero
Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Renan, Carol, Emma. E o último candidato da categoria 9, definido por sorteio, é o Frederico.
Hi guys, Federico Paschini here. Today we are talking about traveling alone and some expectations we do have about it. Have you been alone by yourself one day in your life? How does it change your life? It's truly that we have a lot of expectations. We are aside people that have been alone in life, but it's truly open your eyes. Imagine if you are in a different country, in a different place, sharing a different point of view. That's why I talked about traveling alone. And I pointed some issues you have to deal with. Yes, you will have to deal with people unknown that you never saw in your life, but during a period of time, you will have to trust on them, because you can face yourself totally lost when you are solo traveler, and you will have to trust in somebody else. And that's a moment in your life that you can find comfort in other people. You can trust, you can find humanity is going to a right place in the future. And I had this moment, and I was interviewed in United States border immigration. They want to see what was my traveling status. And I was reviewed at the borderline. So I had to talk the truth that I had family and I had work in Brazil, and in order to them to trust in my words. It's not easy, but there is even some videos posted in American border site. And you have to talk the truth. You have to talk, oh, my friend, I have an appointment with my son, with my family, and I will be at this city by myself, and I want to travel, I want to visit your country. There's no hidden agenda to telling the truth. So you have always to be self-confidence. You have to rely on yourself. You have to put yourself first. You have to be personal fulfillment also. It's very important. It opened my eyes. Today I look after personal fulfillment. That's why I study English, because I want to be part of global information. I want to see the world with global eyes. And there's no hidden agenda to be yourself. Just be yourself, and you will find the way you can succeed in your life. Thank you very much.
Obrigado, Frederico. Vamos para as perguntas. Agora, a candidata Daniela para a primeira pergunta.
Hi, Federico. Thank you for your speech. My question is, how do you take action when you face a problem when you're traveling by yourself, for example, as you mentioned, you do face some challenges. How do you think it's the best way to take action in these situations?
Well, I had this moment, and I just look after to ask for help. Yes, I did, because I was totally lost. I was without a cell phone, internet, and I couldn't find a cab driver because it was on Sunday. It was like and the end of the day. And I went to the lobby, a hotel lobby, and I asked for help, and they did that. They helped me, so I found a place to stay because I had to rely in a known person, and he pointed me the way that I will be safe. And even here in São Paulo, we live with different person, with a diversity. We have this opportunity to be succeeded in the world because we know diversity. We know people. We are a nation from the world. We have many people from different places that come to Brazil and live here. And thank you for the question.
Thank you, Frederico.
Obrigado. Vamos para a pergunta da Beatriz.
Hi, Frederico. Thank you for your speech. So my question is, what advice would you give for a young person who is first traveling by herself and first facing those challenges by traveling by your own?
Yes, I've pointed some issues you will have to deal with, Beatriz. First of all, will be self-confidence, because first of all, you have to rely on yourself. You can be in different situations and you have to show confidence. First of all, you will be interviewed in the immigration borderline. You have to tell the truth and show self-confidence. And when you are lost, sometimes it will happen because it's totally unknown, the place you are. You can plan the trip before. It's very good. And that's my advice. And please make yourself comfortable and have a cell phone service.
Thank you for your answer, Frederico.
Muito obrigado, Frederico, Daniela, Beatriz. Uau! Incrível, né? Arrasaram muito. Então, vamos fazer o seguinte, vou liberar agora novamente o chat, né? Lá no chat, o link de votação para que o público escolha o candidato preferido da categoria 9, tá? De novo, vocês só têm 2 minutinhos para votar. Então, lembrando que o link não é clicável, mas vocês podem copiar, colar no seu navegador, ou ir direto no navegador e digitar o link. E, claro, se você estiver no celular, melhor continuar assistindo, não fechar essa aba, tá bom? Você só precisa copiar e colar, ou anotar aí o link e abrir uma nova aba lá e digitar. O link para votação na categoria 9 é esse aqui, ó. Tiny, tiny.cc/final 9. Certo? Ufa, vamos lá! E agora vamos para a última categoria desse bloco, que é a categoria 6. Lembrando que aqui a gente tem 2 pequenas diferenças em relação às categorias anteriores, tá? Então, a duração do discurso agora precisa ficar entre 1 minuto e meio e 2 minutos e meio, tá? E as perguntas para quem se apresenta, sim, continuam sendo 2 perguntas, mas agora elas podem ser feitas apenas pelos nossos jurados. Tá bom? Então, vamos lá. Então, enquanto o pessoal termina de votar, vamos dar início à categoria 6. E, por ordem de sorteio, a primeira pessoa a se apresentar na categoria 6 é a Sofia Pereira de Andrade.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we are going to take a close look at heroes, emphasizing the human aspect of those people. Coming from the ancient Greeks, the term hero describes a mortal who did something, good or bad, so remarkable that it received worship. Nowadays, it is really hard to detach the concept of heroism from morality. After all, we only call heroes those we admire. Sometimes, our heroes just have exceptional examples of certain ideals, bravery or compassion or wisdom, but they are normal, flawed people otherwise, so deifying them sets you up for disappointment. You might even say it's unfair for them too, because usually they don't betray people. It's the people who have wild perceptions of them in the first place. However, we should consider that on some level, you being this hero to people gives you a lot of power. And with power like that, you need to use it responsibly. J.K. Rowling's transphobia quickly comes to my mind. Not only has she said bad things, but she will probably never change for the better. That kind of close-mindedness is a problem for everyone, and social backlash should be expected if you prove yourself to be that kind of person, hero or not. It's just that for the average everyday Joe, that backlash will occur at the hands of her social circle, rather than millions of people. One might think that reaction by that many people is a bit much to burden anyone with. But if those heroes deserve overwhelming success, it seems fair that they also deserve overwhelming backlash for the moral failures. They aren't superhuman, but they are significant, for better or for worse. On balance, I simply believe that nobody should be placed up on a pedestal. I know for a fact that there is no perfect person in this world. On one hand, the frailties and flaws of perfect people make them more like us, and that may seem to reduce the hero stature. But on the other hand, these great people, amazingly, are human too, and perhaps what is possible for them is possible for us. They stumbled, they wavered, they made mistakes, but they got up and accomplished incredible deeds. Maybe we might do so too. Thanks for listening.
Obrigado, Sofia. Vamos para as perguntas. Quem vai fazer a primeira pergunta é o Igor.
Hello, Sophia. Good afternoon. Well, first, Sophia, thank you very much for your speech. You said that social backlash is to be expected. I was thinking, are there limits to social backlash? And if so, what would they be?
Hello, Igor. Thank you for your question. I definitely believe that there are limits for this backlash, for a hero and also for a normal person. The backlash should be fair, and we should always acknowledge that it is possible and normal for a person to make mistakes. So we can acknowledge that a person, for example, J.K. Rowling, she's very talented, but she's also transphobic. Those two things can walk together. So I believe that we should always acknowledge that that person is not perfect, and also that no one is perfect. But we should always know that they are going to make mistakes, but also know that they are talented, and then that they have done great things for everyone.
Thank you very much.
Vamos para a segunda pergunta, e agora quem vai fazer a pergunta é a Gisele.
Hello, Sophia. Thank you for your speech. Sophia, I'm curious, do you have heroes? And who are they, if you do so?
Thanks, Gisele, for your question. I do have heroes. I have fictional characters and famous people, but I would say that my biggest hero is a little cliche, but it is my mother. Every day she teaches me, how to be a better person. And one trait about her that is the one that I admire the most is her bravery. For me, being brave is the best thing you could do. You can achieve so much by having the courage to face problems in life. And that is a value that she teaches me every day. So she is my biggest hero.
Okay, thank you.
Obrigado, Sofia, Igor, Gi. E a próxima candidata é a Isadora Martins.
Hi, thank you. I do not like heroes. They make too much noise in the world. The more radiant their glory, the more odious they are. As once said Voltaire. That sounds a little harsh, right? But he's not completely wrong. The word hero comes from Greek heros, and it means protector, defender. Once, this word was mainly used to refer to the mythological heroes, demigods, children of mortals and gods who performed heroic acts. A few examples of these heroes are Heracles, Achilles, Perseus, Orpheus, and if you look apart from mythology, even Jesus. But the idea we have of heroes now is different from then. A hero is a person you admire, that inspires you, and that you aspire to be like. When I first heard of the theme, I asked my best friend who her hero was. At first, she said she didn't have any, but after giving it some thought, corrected herself and responded her favorite writer, Sylvia Plath. Now, Sylvia is also one of my favorite writers, and her books mean a lot to me. But she was suicidal. She attempted against her life several times until she succeeded. I guess what I'm trying to say is, while achievements can be legendary or heroic, the person behind them is always human, with faults and weaknesses. But we as a society seem to have difficulty in dividing a person from what they achieve. We idolize our heroes without the recognition of their humanity. When you hold someone to such a high level of respect and put them on a pedestal, we're bound to see their realizations, not their shortcomings. In a way, we have invented the heroism of our heroes. The burden of our illusions must also be ours. Thank you.
Obrigado, Isadora. Vamos para as perguntas. Quem vai fazer a primeira pergunta é a Emma.
Hello, Isadora. Thank you for your speech. Isadora, you mentioned that some achievements sometimes may be heroic, even though the person behind them are not. Do you think that the same works the other way around? Can you think of an example of a person who is heroic but didn't have a good achievement or somehow failed?
So I think that we do this to ourselves many times because, a lot of people that are in our daily lives can be considered heroes, you know. For example, my parents, they're great people and they're always doing something to help. And I think I would consider them heroes. But sometimes people make mistakes. And I think this is something that is like we expect too much from people because we want something to be perfect. And even though nothing is perfect. And I think that's because we come from a very perfectionist society that doesn't really acknowledge that people can make mistakes.
Thank you.
E agora a pergunta da Carol.
Hello, Isadora. Thank you for your speech. You've mentioned Sylvia Plath as being one of your favorite authors and the fact that she committed suicide. I'd like to know how she inspires you, even though she wasn't perfect.
Thank you for your question. So I really like to write and I really like to read. I read a lot of books, and I think that she, as a person, wasn't perfect. And knowing that someone who did the work she did was not perfect is really good to me because I understand that even though she achieved great things, she had problems in her lives and she did commit mistakes. And that's always good to see the good side and the bad side of your heroes, to acknowledge their humanity. Thank you.
Thank you, Isadora.
Muito obrigado, Isadora, Carol, Emma. E a próxima candidata é a Gabriela Badaró.
Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Gabriela. I'm a plus teen 2 student, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about our expectations for our heroes and relate that to role-playing games. So the first step to play an RPG is to create an original character to represent you. But have you ever had the impression that your character is better than you? Well, it is expected of you to give them all the best features and make them like 7 feet tall, super strong. And when you finish, your character is brave, beautiful, has a nice body, and can take advantage of any situation just like a superhero does. But come on, do you think that your character has no issues to cry about? Do you really think he's invincible? Well, if you think so, you should know that I'm sick of your stereotypes, because come on, man, your character is a human just like you. He has bad days, gets hurt, has bills to pay, and is lactose intolerant the same way as you, even if you prefer not to show this side of his story. You must know that this part exists because it's important for character development. Your player can make mistakes and feel blue sometimes, and that's totally okay. And as an RPG player, I know that sometimes we put a lot of enthusiasm into rolling a 20-sided dice to face a situation that we know our character is able to go for it and win, but we get the lowest score and he fails in the worst possible way. But there's no problem with failing at all. We can't expect our characters to be successful all the time. We need to normalize that he might get some damage when he faces a resistance test. It is okay to be beaten, sometimes from a huge villain, sometimes from a piece of rodent food that made your character sick enough to lose some life points. That's why we have many other characters to give us support when it's necessary. And those other characters also have weaknesses, just like the one of yours. And that's why it makes the game fun to play, since we are not always powerful. We need each other's help to fulfill the gaps and be successful in our missions. That's why some RPGs ask our characters to have some phobias, fears, or addictions. The game wouldn't be fun if the characters were perfect. Everyone has a weaknesses, and we must expect them to be unbeatable every match.
Muito obrigado, Gabriela. E agora vamos para as perguntas. Quem fará a primeira pergunta é a Gisele.
Hello, Gabriela. Thank you for your speech. You mentioned you enjoy role-playing games, right?
Yeah.
But I also want to know, do you imagine yourself being a hero in your daily life to someone? Do you want to become a hero to someone in real life as well?
Well, if I had to be someone's hero, I'd like to be my own hero, because I like to think that I have a lot of issues to deal with every day. And those issues are like some issues that I have to face and to become a stronger version of myself. And if I do that like every day, I will become my own superhero and be the main character of my own life.
Thank you, Gabriela.
E a segunda pergunta para a Gabriela, quem vai fazer é o Igor.
Hi, Gabriela.
Hi.
Gabriela, I was wondering, you have some, you said you have issues, obstacles to face in your daily life. I was wondering, if we compare your own life, as you want to be the hero of your own story, if we compare your own life to the hero's journey, then what idea would we get about you as a hero?
Some philosophers say that every character has those superhero history. Well, where he tried to face something that is hard for him to do, and then he fails, and he try again and again and again for become stronger and to face that in a better way. So I think that I would be like the same, because I'm not perfect and I have to do things again and again to get the things I want to do and that I think I will be possible to do someday.
Right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Muito obrigado, Gabriela, Gi, Igor. Vamos para a próxima candidata, que é a Sofia Ragusa.
Can I start? Okay. Hi, my name is Sophie, and I'm a huge fan of superheroes. I absolutely love movies and books that portray fictional characters with superhuman powers because they inspire me. However, today I would like to ask a controversial question. Do we expect too much from our heroes? If you ask someone, they would probably say that a hero is a person who has extraordinary abilities or desirable qualities and is a role model. Based on that, we can already understand that you are regarded as a hero depending on the impact that these traits have on society. That being said, I would like to emphasize that there are different types of heroes: celebrities, fictional characters, and even people that are close to us. We expect heroes to have control of many situations, to act in a certain way, and to carry our expectations. Some people believe that heroes have to achieve impossible because they inspire us. Nevertheless, shouldn't we be our own heroes? And why can't simple acts and ordinary people inspire us too? Personally, I believe there is a fine line between being an inspiration and being a role model. There is something my mom is always saying. I don't want you to be just like me. I'm giving you the tools to be even better. By saying that, she's telling me to be limitless, fearless, and to be my own hero. For me, that is the most valuable lesson. Finally, going back to my previous question, yes, it seems to me that we expect too much from our heroes, because heroes should only be a source of inspiration instead of absolute role models. We have to be the change that we want to see in this world. Taking everything into account, let's never forget to believe in ourselves, to be limitless and fearless, and, of course, to be our own heroes. Like Katy Perry, the singer, once said, I went from zero to my own hero. Thank you.
Obrigado, Sofia. E agora as perguntas. Quem vai fazer a primeira pergunta é a Carol.
Hi, Sophie. Thank you so much for your words. I'd like to ask about, you've mentioned small acts, small things that one could do in your speech. And I would like to know, what are the small things you do that make you feel more like your own hero?
Well, thank you for your question. One of the things that I do that makes me feel like my own hero is actually doing these competitions and speaking and saying what I believe, because it makes sure that I'm inspiring people and that I'm making sure that I have my own voice in my future. And of course, taking care of myself and loving myself, because I think that's just really important to become your own hero.
Thank you, Sophie.
E agora a pergunta da Emma.
Hello, Sophie. Thank you for your speech. Sophie, you said that your mom gives you the tools to be better and to be limitless. Can you tell me more about these tools? What are they?
Well, very interesting question. Those tools are actually her love for me and her respect for my opinions and making sure that I just have the best life that she can give to me, which is one of the greatest things ever. And I'm forever thankful for her, and just making sure that she's always there with me, and that knowing that she is my best friend and that she will always be there for me.
Thank you.
Obrigado, Sofia, Carol, Emma. E agora a nossa próxima candidata é a Maria Eduarda Assunção.
Hi. Hello, everybody. My name is Maria Eduarda, and today I'll be talking about how we expect too much from our heroes. But first, what is a hero? For me, a hero is someone who does good things for society and inspires people to be better. As you know, everyone has a hero. It can be your idol, your mom, a comic superhero, you name it. We admire and love them so dearly that sometimes we forget that they're humans too. They're capable of making mistakes. We put too much expectation and faith that we make them carry a huge burden, only because of their achievements platform, all the good things that they did, all the people that they inspired. For example, imagine you're the biggest Ellen DeGeneres fan, only to find out that she treats people out of her circle in a bad way. Would you be okay with the idea of meeting her and having her treating you badly? I don't think so. Moving on, society puts their heroes on a pedestal. And just like when we get our heads down for a test and still fail, we get frustrated when we create a whole extraordinary personality for our heroes. So when your hero messes up a little, try to understand. Try to be on their shoes and think, would I proceed the same way? On the other hand, if your hero does something that has a huge negative impact on society and does not apologize, you cannot be silent. Speak up. After all, they owe you nothing. In fact, sometimes they don't even know who you are. So I'd like to finish by saying that we cannot expect too much from our heroes. They're humans too. They can be big-headed, they can be rude people sometimes, They can have bad days, who knows? So try to admire your hero without defying it, because in the end of the day, they're not only heroes, but people. Thank you very much.
Muito obrigado, Maria Eduarda. Quem vai fazer a primeira pergunta é o Igor.
Hello, Maria Eduarda. Good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your speech. And Maria Eduarda, I was thinking, you've mentioned that heroes make mistakes too, they mess up, which is fine, but I was wondering, have you ever been disappointed with one of your real-life heroes? And if so, what happened? Why were you disappointed?
Hi, Igor. Thank you for your question. As far as I'm concerned, none of my heroes has already disappointed me in a way that I would get mad. But of course, people are capable of making mistakes, of failing. So of course, if a hero of mine did something that had a huge negative impact on society and affected people around them and affected me, for example, I would obviously analyze the situation and think if I would still have them as my hero or not.
All right, thank you very much.
E agora a pergunta da Gisele.
Hello, Maria Eduarda. Thank you for your speech. Maria Eduarda, do you think we really need heroes and why?
Hi, Gisele. Thank you for your question again. For me, having a hero is really important. And they are our main source of inspiration. And through them, you can learn a lot of things. So for me, having a hero is crucial in life because I think it's necessary to have someone to look up to, to base your actions on what they do. But at the same time, you cannot defy them, as I said in my speech, because they're also humans. They're capable of making mistakes. So I think we need to have heroes, but we need to analyze every time they make a mistake and if they apologize for it.
Okay, thank you.
Obrigado, Maria Eduarda, Gi, Igor. E para finalizar a categoria 6, a última candidata, de acordo com o nosso sorteio, é a Lívia.
Hey guys, my name is Lívia and I'm talking from Cultura Inglesa Jundiaí. I'm more than to be here today. This project is a graceful opportunity for all of us. And I'm going to make it work starting with a quotation. So there we go. According to Leonardo da Vinci, obsessed with the divine anatomy of the human body, the natural desire of a good man's knowledge. And the knowledge of the past and of places on earth is the ornament and food of the mind of man. That's what I call hero. I mean, we are all souls controlling an admirable technology and the greatest machine ever made, the human body. Our biggest bet to save the world is in yourselves. Besides, ask and ask more and over and as many times as it takes. Just ask. Read books, articles, even fairy tales. Just read and study. Study physics and mathematics as much as you hate it and try to understand the world in the most fun way. Spread the knowledge and enjoy it. And never, never forget to use your heart, the center of your emotions, because all our know-how starts with feelings. And what does my hero do that I cannot? Well, this is going to be a piece of cake. Without today's latest knowledge, we won't be able to transform the world. So don't forget to feed your old friend, the organ inside the head that controls thought, feelings, memory, and activity. It's always a pleasure to mention you in a conversation, brain. And of course, the most wonderful thing is that no one can take my hero away from me. I mean, no one can steal anything I have learned. Furthermore, it's never too much. Intelligence is jack of all trades. Take my word for it. Finally, do we really expect too much from our heroes? Yes, we do, and we must be ambitious. We hope that everything we know and discover is just a small fraction of everything the world can teach us. And that's more than perfect. Now, it's up to you. Carry your hero along with you and use it for the good of future. Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Lívia. Vamos para a primeira pergunta da Emma.
Hello, Livia. Thank you for your speech. Livia, you talk about the human body. I was wondering, how do you think we can all be more aware of the importance and the good our bodies can do?
Okay, that's well, we can talk with your bodies. And well, it's a good example. I always use it, children. Sometimes we just need to learn from people who were born knowing. So, for example, none of us were born during a pandemic, but today's children do. And why we trigger anxiety and sadness, they keep smiling and messing around. Because innocence frees us from the bad thoughts, and it's also part of knowing. It's not about ignoring reality, but it's about facing it lightly.
E agora a pergunta da Carol.
Hello, Lívia. Thank you for your speech.
Hello.
Lívia, hi. Lívia, I would like to know, so you've talked about the human body, as Emma pointed out, and let's say, you mentioned the brain as being the most important part, let's say, because you talked about studying and etc. And I would like to know if you don't think that's a little bit dangerous. Let's say, don't we have to take care of all of our body?
Oh, no, we must use it. Let's think about an English philosopher, Sir Francis Bacon. In his work, I think published in 1597 about this time, the saying, knowledge itself is power. So he most likely wanted to transmit the idea that having and sharing knowledge is the cornerstone of reputation and influence, and therefore power. So our achievements emanate from this. So we must use it. We must share it, using our, as I said to Emma, and the same here, brain and our bodies at all. So yeah, I think it's a good idea, not dangerous.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Aê, muito obrigado, Lívia, Emma, Carol. Que coisa, muito bom, né? Muito bom, que demais. Eu quero reforçar o que vocês todos fizeram aqui hoje, foi muito, muito incrível. Tenho certeza que ainda continua sendo desafiador para vocês e que a cada etapa vocês superam e se desenvolvem ainda mais, né? Independente do resultado que anunciaremos daqui a pouco, é importante que vocês tenham em mente o progresso de vocês desde o momento da inscrição até aqui. E que vocês não parem, né? Continuem praticando e se desenvolvendo cada vez mais. Bom, vou liberar agora nossos jurados para que eles possam deliberar sobre as três categorias. Enquanto isso, o público vai escolher seu candidato preferido da categoria 6. Tá? Então, estamos colocando aí no chat o link de votação e você tem 2 minutinhos para votar. E, claro, lembrando que o link não é clicável, mas vocês podem copiar e colar no seu navegador ou ir direto no navegador e digitar o link. E minha dica para quem está assistindo no celular é anota o link, digita o link numa nova aba, né, no navegador, assim você não precisa sair da transmissão para votar, certo? E o link da votação na categoria 6 é tiny.cc/final6, certo? É isso. Ah, e lembrando que a candidata ou candidato que ganhar o prêmio de voto popular receberá um reader digital da NetGeo, um livro digital interessantíssimo em inglês relacionado ao nível de inglês dessa categoria, certo? E o material da NetGeo é fantástico, vocês irão amar nesse presente. Bom, enquanto a gente aguarda, e acho que a gente vai ter que aguardar bastante, porque vai ser difícil essa, eu quero mostrar um vídeo para vocês. Tá? Este vídeo mostra alguns dos nossos alunos, alguns que inclusive estão aqui participando do Your Voice também, que participam do Pop Choir Live, um coral que ensaia somente de forma online. Então, veja só como ficou o vídeo de encerramento de uma das músicas que eles ensaiaram nesse semestre.
So this is what you meant when you said that you were spent. And now it's time to build from the bottom of the pit right to the top. Don't hold back. Back in my bag and giving the academy a rain check. I don't ever wanna let you down. I don't ever wanna leave this town. 'Cause after all, this city never is victimized. It's time to begin, isn't it? I get a little bit bigger, but then I'll admit I'm just as same as I was. Now don't you understand that I'm never changing who I am? So this is where you fell, and got a left to sell. The path to heaven's run through the miles of water, hell right to the top. Don't look back. Turn into red and even the commodities a rain check. I don't ever wanna let you down. I don't ever wanna leave this town. 'Cause after all, this city never is victimized. It's time to begin, isn't it? I get a little bit bigger, but then I'll admit I'm just as same as I was. Now don't you understand that I'm never changing who I am? This road never looked so lonely. This house doesn't burn down slowly. To ashes, to ashes. It's time to begin, isn't it? I get a little bit bigger, but then I'll admit I'm just the same that I was. Now don't you understand that I'm never changing who I am? It's time to begin, isn't it? I get a little bit bigger, but then I'll admit I'm just the same that I was. Now don't you understand that I'm never changing who I am?
Ei, que incrível! Ó, o Pop Choir é o coral de alunos da Cultura Inglesa, oferecido gratuitamente, tanto no formato online, para alunos de qualquer localidade, quanto presencial, em algumas unidades da cultura. Tá? E assim como Your Voice, o coral é mais um local para a prática da língua inglesa fora da sala de aula. Ali os alunos trabalharam aspectos musicais, culturais, linguísticos e muita pronúncia. Então, vocês estão aqui no Your Voice, já pensando em aprimorar suas habilidades de expressão, não podem perder a oportunidade de participar também do coral e dos grupos de teatro da Cultura Inglesa. São muitas oportunidades para você estar em cena praticando seu inglês, certo? E por falar em praticar inglês, vou mostrar para vocês também um outro vídeo, tá? De um projeto social muito importante que está fazendo a diferença na comunidade Paraisópolis, em São Paulo, que é a Cultura Inglesa Paraisópolis. Pode rodar.
Olá, hoje eu vou falar sobre um projeto que nos orgulha e nos realiza muito na cultura inglesa. Essa unidade foi concebida para atender apenas os moradores da comunidade, de forma 100% gratuita, apenas alunos bolsistas. Uma unidade padrão cultura inglesa.
Quando eu fiquei sabendo da oportunidade, eu fui uma das primeiras a fazer o cadastro já para tentar a sorte, graças a Deus eu consegui.
E aí tinha vaga para adulto também, né? Aí começou eu, minha esposa, minhas 2 filhas, a mais velha e a do meio. Desde então, todos nós estamos aqui.
Foi um elemento incrível aqui na comunidade.
Oferecendo cursos de inglês com a nossa excelência acadêmica, com professores cultura inglesa e com atendimento humanizado e individualizado, que são nossas características, aqui com um acompanhamento especial dos alunos. Estamos ensinando, mas estamos também aprendendo. No início da pandemia, nós tínhamos cerca de 1.300 alunos aqui em Paraisópolis. Quando tivemos que mudar rapidamente o presencial para o remoto, achávamos que muitos alunos não conseguiriam continuar, por falta de acesso à internet, sem computador, espaço adequado.
O primeiro dia foi online. Aí, não sabia entrar na aula e meu irmão entrou para mim, né, ele me ajudou.
Foi complicado o começo, né? Aí foi passando o tempo, a gente vai se adaptando.
Grande parte dos alunos aqui de Paraisópolis conseguiram achar meios para continuar seu estudo conosco, mesmo no remoto. Uma grande e bela demonstração de capacidade de viabilização, de perseverança. Foi um aprendizado para nós. E agora retomamos aqui em Paraisópolis com o ensino presencial.
E às vezes a internet fica ruim, não dá para falar, aí presencial dá para falar pessoalmente.
Os resultados até aqui também vêm nos surpreendendo. Tivemos uma alta retenção em 2020, acima de 90%, e uma média de 92% de presença.
Uma grande lição também que a gente aprende todo dia aqui é o esforço que essas pessoas fazem.
O inglês, para mim, vai abrir possibilidades. Por isso que a gente tem que valorizar, tem que ir para aula, tem que praticar.
A cultura abriu isso, abriu essa porta, olha, você tem essa oportunidade, você consegue.
Esse é um grande valor, eles podem sonhar.
Quero trabalhar com muita arte, sabe? Muita exposição.
Os resultados até aqui na unidade Paraisópolis nos fazem ter uma certeza ainda maior de que vale muito a pena investir em projetos sociais. E nos traz um sentimento muito bom ao cumprir nossa missão e gerar um impacto social relevante através da educação.
Obrigado, Cultura Inglesa.
É incrível, incrível esse projeto, gente. Bom, claro que os jurados ainda não voltaram, porque eles vão sofrer para decidir, porque tá bem difícil mesmo. Então a gente vai fazer o seguinte, a gente vai dar um intervalo rapidinho, não precisa nem sair da plataforma, fica aí na tela. Não é tão rapidinho assim, mas é rápido, tá bom? Então fica aí, daqui a pouco a gente volta. Voltamos! Viu? Eu falei que era rapidinho? Foi super rapidinho, né? Olha só que ótimo. Já estamos de volta. E como foi muito rápido, dá tempo da gente ficar aqui mais um tempinho conversando. Então, eu vou passar primeiro para a Carol.
É isso mesmo, gata, foi super rapidinho, porque assim, foi uma decisão super fácil, né? Vocês sabem, a gente, né, não discutiu, foi tudo super tranquilo. Bom, pessoal, alguns clichês precisam ser ditos, e um deles é que foi super difícil, né? Ser jurado aqui dessas 3 categorias foi, assim, é uma honra, mas que é difícil, viu? E assim, queria também dizer que, como professora de inglês, acho que todos nós aqui, os jurados, né, todo mundo da equipe, a gente fica tão orgulhoso, sabe? Tão feliz de ver esse resultado, de ver essa dedicação, de ver vocês nervosos, porque a gente também fica nervoso junto com vocês, e aí depois vem aquele alívio, aquele sorriso de missão cumprida. Porque, sim, a missão foi cumprida, vocês vieram aqui e vocês se apresentaram lindamente, vocês passaram aí por um processo de melhora da fala de vocês, fizeram pesquisa sobre temas que talvez vocês não tinham aprofundado tanto, né? Foram atrás de livros, de filmes, de pensadores. Então, assim, parabéns, eu só tenho realmente a parabenizar a todos vocês. Estou muito feliz e honrada de estar participando desse evento como jurada, né? E acho que é isso. Vocês já são vencedores, com certeza, e o orgulho é muito grande mesmo. Eu vou começar anunciando aqui o prêmio do Audience Choice, ok? Então, só lembrando que eu vou falar aqui os 3 nomes escolhidos pelo público, e isso não tem nada a ver com a escolha dos jurados, de fato, dos vencedores, ok? Então, vamos lá. Mas, assim, Audience Choice é maravilhoso também, né, gente? Vamos lá, então. Na categoria 7, o nosso Audience Choice winner foi a Vivian Rodrigues Nascimento. Parabéns! Da categoria 9, quem ganhou o prêmio do público foi Renan de Oliveira. Tudo bem. E categoria 6 foi a última categoria a se apresentar. A vencedora é Sofia Ragusa. Pessoal, muito obrigada. E agora a gente vai para o que interessa, não é mesmo? Os vencedores de cada categoria. Eu vou chamar o Igor para falar sobre a categoria 7.
Obrigado, Carol. Boa tarde a todos. Foi uma decisão difícil para todas as categorias. Na categoria 7, nós temos em terceiro lugar a Beatriz Bernardino. Parabéns, Beatriz. Em segundo lugar, nós temos Beatriz Figueiredo. Obrigado, Beatriz. Parabéns também. E em primeiro lugar, nós temos a Daniela. Então, parabéns, Daniela, pela sua colocação em primeiro lugar. Parabéns a todos que participaram na categoria 7 por terem chegado até aqui. E agora, Gisele vai anunciar a categoria 9.
Obrigada, Igor. Também quero reforçar o que a Carol disse, o que o Igor disse, agradecer muito o privilégio de poder acompanhar a dedicação de vocês. Parabéns mesmo. Não é por falar, realmente vocês estão muito de parabéns. E é muito difícil a nossa posição, tá, gente? Porque, enfim, a gente fica muito orgulhoso. Mas, enfim, é o caso da categoria 9. Quem ficou em terceiro lugar foi o Frederico. Em segundo lugar foi a Luísa. E, em primeiro lugar, o Renan. Parabéns.
Bom, gente, agora eu vou falar da categoria 6. Vou mais uma vez fazer das palavras de todos os jurados as minhas. Foi um processo muito difícil, mas muito feliz também. Muito bacana a gente acompanhar tudo isso, acompanhar os processos de todo mundo. E um parabéns enorme para todo mundo que participou. Na categoria 6, a gente tem, em terceiro lugar, a Gabriela. Em segundo lugar, a Isadora. E, em primeiro lugar, a Maria Eduarda. Parabéns, pessoal.
Aê, parabéns para todo mundo, parabéns por ter participado, parabéns por quem ganhou, quem participou, tudo, gente. Foi lindo demais, e eu entendo totalmente a dificuldade dos jurados, porque o nível estava muito, muito, muito alto, né? Então aqui todo mundo é isso, né? Vocês já são heroínas, heróis, por terem se desafiado, se apresentado até aqui, então não tenho dúvidas que o processo de todos vocês até aqui foi imenso. E aproveito também para parabenizar e agradecer as famílias, né? As famílias dos candidatos, por estimulá-los, encorajá-los e por estar, né, sempre junto. Não é à toa que eles apareceram tanto como heróis também, né? Então, vocês são super parte desse processo, desse progresso e dessa vitória. Então, muito obrigado pela presença, pessoal. Espero que tenham curtido tanto quanto eu curti. Fiquem ligados aqui na plataforma, confiram a agenda das apresentações no menu da sua lateral esquerda, porque hoje ainda temos muitas e muitas, muitas apresentações. Certo? Beijo, gente. Tchau, tchau.